Welcome to Module 4, Project Integration Management. In this module we will cover the following lessons. 4.0 Project Integration Management Module Overview, which is this video. 4.1 Develop Project Charter. 4.2 Develop Project Management Plan. 4.3 Direct and Manage Project Work. 4.4 Manage Project Knowledge. 4.5 Monitor and Control Project Work. 4.6 Perform Integrated Change Control. 4.7 Close Project or Phase. And in this video we will cover Project Integration Management Knowledge Overview, the Project Integration Management Processes, key concepts for Project Integration Management, what Project Integration Management is concerned with, trends and emerging practices in Project Integration Management, tailoring considerations and considerations for agile adaptive environments. Now let's begin our journey with Project Integration Management Module Overview. Project Integration Management includes the processes and activities to identify, define, combine, unify and coordinate the various processes and project management activities within the project management process groups. In the project management context, integration includes characteristics of unification, consolidation, communication and interrelationship. These actions should be applied from the start of the project through completion. Project integration management includes making choices about resource allocation, balancing competing demands, examining any alternative approaches, tailoring the processes to meet the project objectives and managing the interdependencies among the project management knowledge areas. And that's from PMBOK Guide page 69. Project Integration Management is the first knowledge area in the PMBOK Guide. In study guides you will often see the acronym KA instead of the words knowledge area, and you will often see ITOs, ITTOS, instead of inputs, tools and techniques and outputs. I prefer not to use acronyms on this course where possible, because if you don't know what a particular acronym means, or you've forgotten, or you think it means something else, then you won't fully understand the lessons. Now, with the other acronyms, again, I like to spell them out. I prefer to say work breakdown structure instead of WBS, or statement of work instead of SOW. And in the exam, you will find that every time a question or an answer includes an acronym, they also include the full name in brackets. You may also notice that I often leave the word project off the front of the knowledge area. For example, I will say integration management instead of project integration management, scope management instead of project scope management, and so on. And the reason I do this is that it just takes too long to say the full name with project at the start. And if I'm talking about several knowledge areas and you hear the word project so many times, you probably just get totally lost. And you'll find that most other training courses and the major study guides, they do exactly the same thing. Project Integration Management has been described as being the glue that holds project management together. And I can see what the author meant in saying that, but I don't think it's a particularly good analogy, because when I think of glue, I think of things not being able to move and stuck together. But in project management, everything moves constantly. Where did the Project Integration Management knowledge area come from? When PMI were developing the first PMBOK Guide released in 1996, they had determined there were 8 knowledge areas, which were scope, time, cost, quality, human resources, communications, risk and procurement. But after the first PMBOK Guide was released, PMI realized that there were many activities occurring in projects that ran between the knowledge areas and also outside them, without belonging to any particular one of them. And in fact, these activities which connect the knowledge areas include the main activities of the project manager. So we had the PMBOK, which didn't have a knowledge area for the project manager. For example, if you're behind schedule and you decide to compress an activity on the project schedule by crashing it, and don't worry if you didn't understand a single word I just said, because by the end of the course you'll be an expert at all of these things. But for now, crashing the schedule simply means adding more resources to a critical activity to speed it up so that the project can finish sooner. Now, this crashing happens in schedule management knowledge area, but crashing the schedule increases risk, and so this change in schedule management will also impact the risk management knowledge area. Managing risk costs money, so the risks will impact the cost management knowledge area as well. And adding more resources to an activity will cost more, and so crashing will impact the cost management knowledge area too. On top of that, using extra resources for crashing will also impact the resource management knowledge area, and maybe the communications management knowledge area, and so on and so on. Imagine that the project management knowledge areas are like model boats floating in a small pond. Changes to the project are like rocks dropped into the pond, and the impact on the knowledge areas are like the ripples in the water tossing the little boats around. Integration management is the knowledge area that looks after the ripples. In fact, integration management also approves the rocks to be dropped into the pond. Integration management also looks after activities occurring outside the project. What's an example of that? A project does not exist until the project charter is formally authorized. So that means that the activities involved in creating the project charter are outside the project. Integration management manages the creation of the project charter, and it looks after the closing of the projector phase as well. So project integration management is quite an amazingly important and comprehensive knowledge area, and it is the primary focus of the project manager, and you'll probably see that appearing on one exam question. The project integration management processes are 4.1, develop project charter. The process of developing a document that formally authorizes the existence of a project and provides the project manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to project activities. That definition is very popular in the exam. It is very well worthwhile remembering, and there are several questions based on it. For example, what document provides a project manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to project activities? Where would you look to see if a project formally exists, and so on. 4.2, develop project management plan. The process of defining, preparing and coordinating all plan components and consolidating them into an integrated project management plan. I will wave a big red flag here. Many people mistakenly think that the project management plan, also known as the project plan, is just the project schedule. But that is 94.4% wrong. As you will see later in the course, a project management plan is a collection of 18 sub-plans and baselines, including the project management schedule baseline. The project management schedule baseline is simply the agreed and authorized version of the project management schedule. The project also uses 33 documents, simply known as the project documents. These are used by the project management plan, but they're not part of the project management plan. 4.3, direct and manage project work. The process of leading and performing the work defined in the project management plan and implementing approved changes to achieve the project's objectives. I will make the same note here as before. A project management plan is not just a project schedule. 4.4, manage project knowledge. The process of using existing knowledge and creating new knowledge to achieve the project's objectives and contribute to organizational learning. There are actually two different types of knowledge being managed. The first is known as explicit knowledge. This means knowledge that can be easily stored and shared in the form of words, pictures, numbers and so on. 4.5, monitor and control project work. The process of tracking, reviewing and reporting overall progress to meet the performance objectives defined in the project management plan. This is possible in integration management because this gives the project manager like a helicopter view of the entire project. Project integration change control, the process of reviewing all change requests, approving changes and managing changes to deliverables, organisational process assets, project documents and the project management plan, and communicating the decisions. This is a very important process. You create certain plans and documents in the project, for example, the scope statement, the work breakdown structure, and the work breakdown structure dictionary. And then when you get these items formally approved, they become baselines, and then they're used for measuring progress on the project. Any proposed changes to the project or the deliverables must be authorized by the integrated change control system before the change can be made and the baselines updated. 4.7. Close project or phase, the process of finalizing all activities for the project, phase or contract. Key concepts for project integration management. The project manager manages the project integration management area. However, specialists manage the other knowledge areas. For example, a financial controller may manage the project cost management knowledge area. However, the project manager retains overall responsibility for the entire project. Project management duties generally cannot be delegated, but the project manager can do some of the specialist work, as long as there's no conflict of interest. For example, in an information technology project, the project manager, if suitably skilled, may perform business analysis. However, the project manager, even if suitably skilled, should not be controlling and releasing the finances to the project. That's a huge conflict of interest. Projects and project management are integrative, meaning that they bring things together and assemble them or integrate them. I like to think of a project as being like producing a big jigsaw puzzle. The specialist team members make the individual pieces, but it is the project manager who uses the picture on the box to direct the puzzle to be assembled. I mentioned before that project integration management links the other knowledge area processes. You will find that those links are also iterative, which means that you'll perform them many times throughout the project. So don't mix up integrative with iterative. They're quite different meanings. Just like the boats in the pond that I mentioned before, when a rock is dropped into a pond, the ripples don't just hit each boat once. It will happen again and again and again until the process is exhausted. That is an example of iterative. What project integration management is concerned with? Ensuring that the deliverable due dates of the project, service or result, project lifecycle and the benefits management plan are aligned. Providing a project management plan to achieve the project objectives. Ensuring the creation and the use of appropriate knowledge to and from the project. Managing the performance and changes of the activities in the project management plan. Making integrated decisions regarding key changes impacting the project. Integrated decisions means making a holistic list. Measuring and monitoring the project's progress and taking appropriate action to meet project activity objectives. Measuring and monitoring the project's progress and taking appropriate action to meet project objectives. Collecting data on the results achieved, analysing the data to obtain information and communicating this information to relevant stakeholders. Completing all the work of the project and formally closing each phase contract and the project as a whole, and managing phase transitions when necessary. Unfortunately, PMBOK uses the word phase for two quite different things. But in the context of integration management, think of a phase as being like a mini project inside a larger one. Suppose your project is to build a house and the project includes a separate garage and workshop. You might initiate a project phase just to build the garage and workshop. The phase will have all the necessary features of a project, but it is managed independently of the main house project. The mini project to build the garage and workshop, as I said, is called a project phase. Trends and emerging practices in project integration management. Now, these are the trends. So these are things which are happening in the industry, but we can't really call them totally mainstream yet. And when they become properly mainstream, you'll see them integrated into further releases of the PMBOK guide. But I'll present you now with an amazing fact. The first time a computer was used to assist with project management scheduling, can you guess when that was? It was in 1957, which at the time of recording this video was an incredible 60 years ago. But it would be decades before ordinary companies could actually afford computers. This meant that during those same decades, project managers had to do everything manually, paper and pencil. The good news is that PMI over the past few decades has begun to realize that modern project managers actually do use computers to help them manage projects. The bad news is that the people who create the PMBOK exams still think that project managers still do most things with paper, pencil and a ruler. Project integration management can be a very busy area, and in large projects it's incredibly data intensive, and so the trend is for project managers to use a project management information systems. So the trend is for project managers to start using computers and automated tools to assist with collecting, analysing, using information. Other trends include using visual tools rather than just printed documents. It's like the Kanban boards, that sort of thing, so that stakeholders can get a good overview of the project status at a glance without needing detailed training of how to interpret all the figures, etc. Project knowledge management. Nowadays, there's an increasing use of contractors, and so staff turnover can be quite rapid and continuous. So you get contractors joining the project, they gain a lot of knowledge and skills and then leave, taking the knowledge and the skills with them, although the knowledge and the skills were of course paid for by the company. And so organisations are coming up with methods for retaining some of this knowledge. Other trends include expanding the project manager's responsibilities. According to the PMBOK guide, project managers are being called upon to initiate and finalise a project, such as project business case development and benefits management. Historically, these activities have been the responsibility of management and the project management office, but project managers are more frequently collaborating with them to better meet project objectives and deliver benefits. Project managers are also engaging in more comprehensive identification and engagement of stakeholders. This includes managing the interfaces with various functional and operational departments and senior management personnel. And finally, using hybrid project management methodologies. This involves blending parts of traditional project management with parts of Agile plus skills from business analysis to make a more responsive method. Now we come to tailoring considerations. The PMBOK guide does not actually give advice on how the knowledge areas should be tailored. It simply gives a long list of things that could be tailored. If you're interested in seeing the list for project management integration, you'll find it on page 74 of the PMBOK guide. Considerations for Agile adaptive environments. Standard integration management, as I've mentioned before, is the domain of the project manager. But with iterative and agile methods, decisions on integration are taken largely by team members who are experts in the specialist areas where the integration is to occur. In such an environment, the project manager's focus moves to assisting collaboration and encouraging decision making. And that brings us to the end of Project Integration Management Module Overview. The next lesson is 4.1, Develop Project Charter. Now please read the corresponding chapter in the PMBOK guide before watching the video to increase your learning.